Why hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Sally and this is Sally Stitches which is my channel about cross stitch and knitting and crochet and all the other hobbies that I enjoy. Though lately, frankly, it's been mostly cross stitch because I've been having a lot of fun. So I am filming today on a Friday. I think I'm acclimated to the switch from standard time to daylight savings time. That first couple days is really hard, but now, and I think maybe just seasonally, it's the right time to make the switch because I am really enjoying the later light for nighttime crafting. And it's like I woke up one morning this week and all of a sudden I could hear the birds outside the window again. And you might even get to hear some of them today because even though it's only like 40 degrees here in Michigan right now, it's gonna be maybe closer to 60 degrees by the end of the day. And I have turned my furnace off and I have my windows open and I can hear the birds right now. So if you're new here, I'm so glad that you stopped to say hi. My name is Sally. As I mentioned just a minute ago, I'm from Michigan. I am a stay-at-home hobbyist. I have 2 school-age kids and a husband who is at work right now. And this is my time to just kind of play in between, all the busy. So welcome. If you like to listen to people talk and then work on, a project while you're listening, grab your craft right now because I've got a lot to say today. In fact, I brought notes on my iPad. So the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to thank everyone for their feedback on my previous video that had my whip or not parade. This was the one that was right before the tutorial that I posted about a week ago. I had a lot of people chime in both on the comments on that video and through my social media, through my Instagram, with opinions about what I should do about those 4 not projects, the projects that I've decided I'm not going to continue on. And I put a lot of thought into it and I like your suggestions. So let me tell you a little bit about what I did and I'll try to maybe put like a screenshot. So I gave one of those projects away. I gave away the Lizzie K ABCs of Parenting one through my Instagram page. I just made a post. I said, hey, comment if you're interested, and I drew a name. And so that got sent away to its new owner and I hope they enjoy stitching that. I did take 2 of those projects and put them in the vault, which is where I put kind of nostalgic projects in the basement, in my craft dungeon. Hey, here's something for you to think about and comment on. Do you want to see my craft dungeon? It's a basement craft space. It's not beautiful because it's in a basement. That's why I call it a dungeon. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like a little tour sometime. So 2 of those projects, the Owl Forest Golden Bees project and the Friend Stitch Christmas long skinny project are both down in the vault. I actually did have a good idea though. One of you suggested that I take the Friend Stitch project and I just finish it, just finish the motif I'm on and then just consider that an FFO. I might go back and do that. And so that's why it's in the vault for now. I also have a project that is up for reconsideration, and that is Things Unseen. And that is a project that I started with a big group of friends. Some of them finished, some of them actually restarted, and one of those friends reached out and she said, you know what, you should just finish it and, consider it finished, or cut out the motif you like and consider the whole thing finished. I am on the fence. And so what I've decided to do is I have continued to put it in my whip basket and I've added it back to my whip wheel that I use sometimes when I'm trying to decide what to work on. And so that is up for reconsideration. I might continue to work on that and finish it up. I am pretty close. I don't have that uploaded into Markup RXP, which is a software program I started using this year to organize and track my progress on my cross stitch projects. And I don't have it, so I don't know for sure, but I think if I were to estimate, I'm probably about 70% done with that. So might be worth finishing. We'll see. So anyway, just thought I'd give you a little update. Let's talk a little bit about things I've previously finished or recently finished, except you know what? I made a pile of whips here and I didn't get my stuff. So let me go get it and I'll be right back. Well, that was pretty amateur. So I'm supposed to be a Flosstube professional. That was silly. I am very excited though, because I had one of those months or weeks where a bunch of projects all finished at the same time. And I had what I call a finishing frenzy, where I sat down one Sunday afternoon and I just finished all of them and got them ready for display, and I'm really enjoying them. So I'll show you my favorite one first. I'm very excited about this. Ta-da! This is Festive Forest by the Blue Flower. It's a very three-dimensional piece. I think it kind of looks a little like, I don't know, like a dome. This was part of a class that I did for the Jingle Ball hosted by Lindy Stitches. And this is finished exactly as to the pattern, you know, the tutorial that we did. And we called it in class a muffin. And so this is my muffin. So you can see there's 6 panels, little woodland animals on each side. And the panels taper into points at the top. And this is the seam between 2 pieces of fabric that I sewed together, kind of the trunk of these pine trees here. And then on the top, I got some beads. These are some red jasper beads I purchased online. And then the bottom is a hexagon that I made out of mat board, and I covered it with some velveteen that was dyed by Lady.Creates. And if you're interested, I'll tell you the materials. So first off, this is stitched on 36 count Cypress by Fiber on a Whim. I used the called for flosses, which are a mix of DMC, Roxy Floss Company, Weeks Dye Works, and then there are also some called for cottage garden threads. I did not get a chance to use those for most of this. There were a couple little areas where I could add a couple little touches, like these antlers right here, because my friend Susan, the Blue Crab Stitcher on Instagram, ended up giving me like little samples of the cottage garden threads from her kit. So, and then the velveteen from Lady.Creates, this is the color called Cucumber, and I ordered it from Lindy Stitches, and it came in like I want to say a 12 by 18 inch piece. It's very generous. I have a lot of this velveteen left, and that's good because I'm going to make another one of these. Not the same pattern, but like a sister pattern to it. Now, if you do make this, you need 2 of whatever white you do. This is a Weeks Dye Works. It's grits. It's got some yellows and some kind of brown tones to it. So just buy two skeins of it if you need it. So very proud of this. I have it on my front table, where I like to do seasonal displays. Oops, just dropped my iPad. And yeah, I just am really enjoying it. Even though it's kind of like has a winter feel to it, I'll probably keep this one out year long. So the other finish I have was something that I showed you, like it's scrappy, you know, the stitching was finished last time, and now I have it fully finished, and that is Winter Folk by Hands on Design. And here she is. Let's get you up close so you can see it. I used a backing fabric that is a print, I think, by the Rifle Paper Company. And even though it's kind of a bloomy summer print and this is a winter piece, I just thought that the pinks really warmed up the fabric, and I really enjoyed it. Now this is finished on a board that was made by Chantel's 141 Design Company. This board was stained actually by her too. This was a series, and I got the first one at a retreat that was hosted by Chantel's, and Hands on Design was the guest designer. And then as subsequent seasons have been released, I have stitched all of them, and so now I have a complete set. Now this is attached to this board via magnets. The magnets are on the back side, and then there's magnets on here. And so I can swap them out for the seasons. So let me do that right now, except they're all gonna stick together, so be patient. So here is winter. And then we have autumn. Now, all of these are stitched on, what's it called? Fabrics by Stephanie. It's 32 count fabric, and the colorway is called Driftwood. So there's Autumn Folk. Here is Summer Folk. Ugh, I'm doing them in kind of reverse order, I guess. This backing fabric was actually a vintage sheet that a friend of mine gave me, like a vintage pillowcase. It had a hole in the middle, so I didn't feel bad about cutting it up. And then finally we've got Spring Folk. All of these have rickrack trim that are various colors from Lady Dot Creates. I've really enjoyed Lady Dot Creates for trim, especially since I used to get all my trims at Joann Fabrics. And while I have like a pretty good stock of those, that's not gonna be an option anymore. So I really find that if you want like some more subtle, like hand dyed or yarn dyed looks, Lady Dot Creates makes beautiful trims. She makes pom-poms, she makes lace trim, she makes rickrack, and then that chenille, she makes chenille trim, and then she makes velveteen and all sorts of other stuff. When I went last year to a needle workshop in Ohio that had all of them, you know, on a big wall together, it was just stunning. It was like a rainbow of beautiful fancy trims, and I think that they are great. I highly recommend. So let me pick up my iPad, excuse me. And I want to show you one more. And this one I'm not actually counting like as a new finish, but this is a refinish because I did some rearranging and I took an old piece and I redid it. And this is it right here. This is a design by Blackbird Designs. It is one of their loose feathers one, and I had to go through their gallery to figure it out because I don't have the pamphlet. I remember distinctly giving the pamphlet away. And the name of the design is Bluebird's Message. This is done on a 32 count, like just ivory, like mystery fabric. I stitched it back in 2013, so 11 years ago. And I had this in an 8x10 frame with a really heavy border. And as I was kind of rearranging, actually I was rearranging this coffee table setup I have here to highlight my vintage collection a little more. I decided that I needed to redo this piece because it was very droopy inside the frame. And it was very difficult because I had cut it like 8 inches by 10 inches. And so like I didn't have a lot of room to lace, but I did lace it. Got like a 1/4 inch on the top and the bottom. So this is a piece of mat board I cut out. The mat board is 6 inches by 9 inches. And then I put a little piece of batting on it to give it a little puffiness on the front. And I have this refinished. Now, I went online to Chantel's 141 Design Company and I found a like cutting board shape that is proportionally really nice. Like it's gonna fit, this piece will fit. So I'm waiting for that to come. I did place the order, but I did it right before the needlework market. And so I expect I'll wait for a bit. But when that happens, I'll probably paint it. I think I like to paint it either this red or one of these beautiful greens. I wish I knew what flosses I used. I probably used the called for flosses and they look over dyed, so it was probably like a Weeks Dye Works situation. And maybe get a little Lady Dot Creates trim for the edge, and then I'm gonna have a refinish. And this is really pretty. I'm glad, you know, to kind of re-examine an old piece and then decide, you know, to give it new life. I have a couple other pieces that are like that. I have a framed piece that was like a year-long stitch along in my room that I just put in like a standard frame, and I can see like hoop marks that I didn't iron out very well in it. And so I do think about like disassembling that frame and getting it into something new. And maybe we'll see. Maybe if I do that, I'll bring you along with me. So anyway, that is my finishes. So I've got 2 finishes, and I've got a half of like an old thing that it's refinishing. So I'm counting that as 2 finishes. Those were finishes number 5 and 6 of 2025. One of my crafty aspirations this year, I'm not calling them resolutions because that's jinxing it, is to finish 25 projects in 2025. And these are projects across all of my hobbies. So knitting, crocheting, cross stitch, quilting, everything. So I've got 6 now, and that's almost a quarter of the way, and we're about a quarter of the way in the year. So it sounds like I'm doing pretty well. Now let me show you my active whips. I'm gonna get these out of the way first because I made a pile. I've got my handy dandy cutting board. Whoops, I'm sorry. I hit you right with that board. Don't get seasick. Are you okay? Okay. So I have my handy dandy cutting board so that I can show these flat, and then I'm gonna try to move them slowly so that you can see them because that was some feedback I got last time. And so I want you to be able to see what I'm stitching. So the first piece I'm stitching is a very familiar shape because I just showed you the other piece I finished, which was Festive Forest. And now I'm working on a companion piece. This is also a design by the Blue Flower, and it is called Bees in the Greenhouse. And so it's going to be very similar. It's 6 panels. I've got 2.5 of them done so far. And each panel is going to show a different type of wildflower and then a different species of bee. So this first one is foxglove with a common bumblebee. And then this one is echinacea, and I forget the name of the bee, but it's hard to see. This bee is not black and yellow. It's like green and yellow. And then a lot of white, like ironwork looking stitches to make the greenhouse. So when I finish this piece, I am gonna go ahead and finish it to make a second muffin, just like I did with the other one. I'll probably use the exact same velveteen, and I'll put the little red beads on top because I thought they were so cute. And this has been a lot of fun. This is fewer stitches than Bees on the Greenhouse by actually quite a bit, like probably, like it's only about 2/3 the number of stitches that were in Bees in the Greenhouse. It's about 9,000 stitches. And so it's going a lot faster. I'm about 27% done here. And you know, the funny thing is like 2/3 of the stitches are white. I hate stitching with white floss. I feel like texturally it's different. Have you guys come across that? Does it feel like stiffer than other flosses? I'm just talking standard like DMC floss. These are all DMC threads on this piece. And this is the other half of the piece of fabric I stitched Festive Forest on, which is 36 count Cypress by Fiber on a Whim. So one last look. I can't see you, so I can't tell if I'm centered. Apologize if I'm not. And there we go. So that's whip number 1. Whip number 2 is almost a finished project. And this is one that I've worked on all year. And if you've been with me before, you know that I've worked on 1 or 2 motifs a day because I have a goal of finishing this by a certain date. And let me show you where we are. So this piece is 324 by Works by ABC. So 324 motifs, 324 colors, 1 motif a day, finishing it by March 24th. So today is March 14th. There are 10 days until March 24th, and I've got 10 motifs left in the corner there. I started in this corner up here, and I've just been working diagonally 1 or 2 a day. I had to double up to do 2 a day for the last couple weeks because I wasn't going to make my deadline. This is stitched on a 32 count fabric that was part of a grab bag from Color and Cotton. It's just kind of a neutral white, and I am stitching it with all of the called for DMCs. I am really lucky that I had a fortuitous like 40% off Michael's coupon many years ago, and so I was able to get a DMC master set, and so I just pulled from that to make this project. Now, one thing that I will say as a pro tip that I'm really happy I did is when I organize my sets of DMC flosses, I keep them in boxes like this. There are 5 of them, and instead of keeping them in numeric order, I have them in the same order that you would see if you had like a DMC color card. If you don't have a DMC color card, you can look at it for free. There's a PDF version on Lord Leibidin's website. That's an excellent website if you have a lot of questions about DMC. But a lot of these colors are being done exactly in the DMC color chart order. And so as far as just finding the floss that you wanted, I found it was like it was really easy because sometimes it's like you just are like pulling the same 4 flosses that are right next to each other in the box. So 1 a day, 10 more days, finishing it on March 24th. Very exciting. She just released for Needlework Market last week a second version of this, and then also another one that's like a 365 version. So if you want to stitch any of these, get yourself some DMC, get it organized, and it'll go very quickly, I say, as it took me most of a year to do it. But boy, it's really fun. And you know what? This is so funny. When I put it on my ironing board and ironed it, I ended up snapping a photo because I just thought it looked so pretty just laying there. I probably will finish this one as a flat finish, probably in a frame for like hanging on a wall. I was looking around my house thinking, where do I want to display it? And I've decided I'm going to stick a little photo here, but I have like a chimney stack, and there are a couple cross stitch pieces that are already on there. And I think what I'll do is I will just reorient them so that I can do like bump, 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 like 3 in a row, like a vertical row of them. I actually have another piece that I'm really excited about. This is something that I won in an eBay auction. It is not a cross stitch, but it is a crewel embroidery piece, and hopefully it'll show up next time and I'll be able to show it to you. So here is the next work in progress I have, and this is, oops, I dropped my cutting board again. This is another one of my crafty aspirations this year, which is to do a stitch alone. So a stitch alone is a stitch along that I started many years ago, and then I didn't finish it. And so now I'm alone, stitching alone. This was actually a restart, and I'll show you what I've got. So this is Once Upon a Time by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. I got January, which was Snow White, my February, which was the Princess and the Frog, and then I just added March, which is the 3 little pigs. So I've got the top row done. There is a beautiful border of like fuchsia and, I'm sorry, not fuchsia, magenta and navy blue motifs. And it is 3 across, and then it's gonna be 4 down. Now, originally when I started this, I started it as a center start because I also started it way past when the stitch along had been running. And then I messed up the count, and because this is a grid, I messed it up in a way that I just couldn't finish it. Like I couldn't fix it. And so I had to unpick all those stitches out. And I'm happy to say they're gone. It's like it never even happened. I went ahead and I used the iron and I just steamed the heck out of it, and that shrank those holes back up. And so when I get to that clue again, I'm gonna count extra well so that this doesn't happen again. I'm stitching this on 28 count fabric dyed by Picture This Plus. The name of the color is Doubloon, and it's an Edward Cullen sparkle fabric. Have you guys seen Twilight? It's like 20 years old now, and I can't even believe it because there's no possible way that 20 years could have gone by at this point. So I am enjoying this. I'm going to put this away until April, and I'm happy that I've stayed up to date on my second crafty aspiration. My third crafty aspiration for 2025 is to work on a Christmas project all year. And so I've selected 12 Christmas projects, and in January I made the first one, which was snow gnomes, snow cones. I showed you in a previous video, and actually the finishing tutorial I just posted was that one. And then in February, what did I do? Oh man, I can't believe I'm already forgetting. I'll have to insert that in. But I'll show you March's project. And to show you March's project, I have to show you a previous project. So this first one is not one that like is included, but I just want to show you so that you get a sense of what I'm going to talk about here. And this is a design by Satsuma Street, and it is a Christmas stocking design. And the name of this pattern is Cosmic Christmas, and I stitched the stocking up for myself. So you can kind of see the stocking shape. I stitched this on 28 count fabric with the called for DMCs. This one has a lot of really cool back stitching to make the nebula in the background. And I just love it. It's like a vintage retro look to it. So this is Sally's stocking here. So I don't remember the name of the fabric, but this is a fabric of the month club that I participate in called by Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers. And so I've decided I'm going to stitch 3 more stockings for each of my family members. And my March project is my second stocking, which is a stocking for my daughter, Katie. And this is a Satsuma Street pattern called Nutty or Nice because it has a nutcracker on it. And I'll show you where I am. Big piece of fabric, gotta get it smooth. So here we go. So Nutty or Nice is stitched on 28 count fabric. I am using a beautiful pinky purple, and I am only about 40% done. So I have a lot of stitching to do this weekend. You can't tell right here, but this is the heel of the stocking, and then it's gonna go up here, and then the toe will go out here. And this is gonna be a nutcracker. He's missing his face and his hands right now, but I've been having a lot of fun. All of these little background buildings remind me of It's a Small World. And then we've got our little Christmas candies, which are very fun to stitch. And I just think the colors are fantastic. I was a little concerned about the pinks and purples blending in with the background fabric too much, but I kind of like that. I kind of think it looks more like they're in the distance, you know, like I got some cool perspective stuff happening, even though this is a flat image. So a lot of white stitching again. This also has metallics. You can't tell, but his pants are striped with silver and white. That's DMC Diamond that I used, and then I used Diamond for the gold embellishments. And this has been a lot of fun. I've been averaging about 400 to 600 stitches a night. These big blocks are really easy to just kind of whip right up. So I definitely think I will get it finished by the end of the month. It's a pretty big project. It's about 10,000 stitches. And so yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. So did you set up any kind of crafty aspirations for yourself this year? I'm gonna be honest, I really thought it would start falling apart by now, and so I'm excited that it hasn't, which is really cool. So let me see what I was gonna talk about next. Excuse me, I'm gonna get a drink of water. Water is better in a fancy glass. This is a vintage glass from Ellie Smith. It's Moon and Star. So cheers. Oh yeah, here is the next whip. I joined a Facebook group. Actually, not even a Facebook group, an Instagram like group chat. I was invited by someone that follows me on Instagram, mutual, friend, and her name is Jess. And this chat group is a Get Out Your Gecko group. Now Gecko is actually, it's a company called Gecko Rouge. It is a cross stitch company that does full coverage licensed pieces, and I have a Gecko Rouge project that has been sitting for a couple years now. I'm not even going to get it out, but it's in this big box. This is Gamer Nouveau, and so I'm getting out my Gecko. I am reorganizing the floss, and I am almost ready to just stitch on that. So I realized I missed something. I put piles together in the order of how I want to talk about stuff, and I messed up the order, and so I feel bad. Now I'm like, do I talk about this or not? I guess now that I've brought it up, I better. So let's backtrack. Let's rewind to when we were talking about the Satsuma stocking project, because I have already started thinking about the finishing of these, and Jody gives us a little bit of a tutorial, but it's not, it really leaves up a lot to you about like what you want to do as far as materials. But one thing that she suggests is using a felt for the backing. And I like this idea because felt is really easy to work with. It doesn't fray. Cross stitch fabric frays a ton. And so, it's nice to have something that's kind of a little stable. And so I just wanted to talk about where to buy felt. I like to buy felt from a company called Benzie Design, and this is not felt for the stocking project, but I just want to show you, this is something that you can buy from Benzie Design. This is for a different project, and this is 2 yards. So a yard of felt, if you're used to just getting it in sheets, is pretty big. It's about 36 inches wide, and then this is a 2-yard cut, so this is a piece that's like 36 by 72. That's a lot of felt. I hope it's enough for my project. I just have really enjoyed them. I know that not everyone is interested in felt or making like little felt ornaments. I've enjoyed that as a craft, but even if you're not interested in that, Benzie Design has a lot of really cool things that you can use for your cross stitch for finishing. Plus they actually sell cross stitch kits too. In fact, they just had a 15th anniversary celebration, and they were selling these little 15th anniversary kits, and I got one and I wanted to show it to you. So came with this card. Congratulations, 15 years, Benzie Design. And then I've got a little project bag, and let me just show you what I've got because I thought it was cool. So inside the project bag is a little zipper pouch. And then inside the zipper pouch, I've got some goodies. I've got a roll of washi tape. Is that focusing? There you go. It's got some embroidery floss and stuff on it. I got a vinyl sticker. Oh no, it's sticking. Why is it so sticky? Is it magnets? Oh yeah, it's magnets. I got a needle minder, and it's like the front door of their business. That's why everything was sticking together. And then here is the sticker. It's a vinyl sticker, so I could put this on a laptop or a water bottle. Cute pair of scissors. Never not wanting more of those. And then look, a little cross stitch kit. It's a little perforated paper ornament. That's the same design as the needle minder. It comes with the floss and some beads. So I'm gonna make myself a little ornament. So anyway, I got the little kit and I had the felt sitting there, and I was thinking about my stocking, and I just wanted to show you. Check them out. They're really cool. The website is benzydesign.com. $5 flat rate shipping. They're in Illinois and I'm in Michigan, so I usually get my order really fast. And I think that, you know, if you're into crafty and cute stuff, you'll like it too. So, I don't have enough projects to work on. I'm kidding. I have way too many projects to work on. But I thought that it would be a fun day today to pick out one of my whips that I just sorted through and get some more stitches on that for this weekend. And so I'm gonna bring up my whip wheel, and I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and spin the wheel right now, and then I'll go grab the project and iron it, and then I'll show you what I have, and then I'll show you next time how much I get done. So this is my whip wheel. It's an app called Tiny Decision. I've put all of the whips that I sorted through last week in there. You know what? Things Unseen isn't on here. Let me add it real fast. Wouldn't that be funny if that's the one? Okay. Okay, Things Unseen is on here. So I'm gonna push the button, give it a spin. Tiny Modernist, 12 Days of Christmas. Oh, that's fun. That's actually one of my Christmas all year projects. But why don't I show it to you? I'm gonna cut the video here so I can get it out and I can iron it, and I'll be back very soon. Okay, we have it freshly ironed. Here is that new whip to add to my whip circle. There we go, 12 Days of Christmas ornaments. Now, this is an ornament series, and I think they're meant to be stitched separately, but I decided to stitch them into a 3x4 grid. Took a little finagling with the pattern. I had to do a cut and paste to get them to work, and that's why I was stitching them out of order, because I was kind of messing around with placement. But I've got partridge, I've got turtle dove, here's the start of a French hen, and then here is a calling bird, and then rings, boom. This is stitched on a 36 count fabric by Forbidden Fiber Company. The name of the color is Winter Sparrow. It's very hard to see in this light, but it is like the palest of pinks. It's really a beautiful color. Give you a little close look at these teeny tiny stitches. I really like the colors together, the reds and the greens. Kind of a like modern Christmas tone. Kind of like reminds me of a Scandinavian design. So this is a fun thing to kind of add to my whip wheel. Yeah, so here, let's set a quick goal, huh? I will finish the French hen by the next time we meet, and that'll help me be motivated, you know, for when it actually comes up during the Christmas, you know, wheel. So I guess I didn't realize it was on both whip wheels. So there we go. Let's talk about my next aspiration. Oh no, before we do that, I gotta show you. Just in case I happen to get bored, I did kit up a new project, and I'm very excited about it. And it's been sitting on my desk, and every day I look at it and I'm like, oh, I should start that today. But then I'm like, no, I should work a little more on this, a little more on this. So if I get my Christmas stocking done, then I'm gonna go ahead and break this one open. And this is Cherry Magpie by, her name is Jessica Doizé, but she goes by Jed X Stitch on Instagram. And I saw the pattern on Instagram. One of my friends shared it, and I just loved the colors. So I'm stitching mine on my Fiberlicious Fabric of the Month Club. This is a 40 count. I know I used to get 28, but I swapped to 40. And these are the called for colors. Isn't that gonna be stunning? So these are all DMCs, and then there are two specialty flosses. There is a Threadworks color, which is this beautiful deep like sea teal. And then this is a Color and Cotton color. It's a fuchsia. I think all of these colors are gonna look really pretty. I'll slap a picture of the sample right here. Just think it's gonna be great. So you may have seen my eyes darting to the window, and that's because my husband has just come home for lunch. I don't like filming in front of him, and so we're gonna take a little break, and then I'm gonna talk about my next crafty aspiration next. So see you after lunch. And while we're on our lunch break, let me show you my new decorations. Hey, how's it going? I am going to put my Valentine's things away and get my St. Patrick's stuff out. So first step is getting all this stuff put away. Okay, as you can see, I have nested a little box inside my big Valentine's storage box. And I'm going to use this part for things that are kind of fragile. So like this vintage mug. I have saved some packing paper, and so I'm going to go ahead and just wrap the fragile stuff in paper and stow them kind of in the center of the box. Okay, and then I just have a couple inexpensive little doodads that I can kind of tuck in. Not as worried about them getting messed up. And so here on the side I've got my soft stuff, like my cross stitch pieces are tucked under here, window clings, banners, ornaments that I've made out of felt. And then I've got my fragile stuff in the middle, a couple more soft things on the side, and then I have these boxes. This is a vintage candy box that has some vintage Valentines inside it. Show you. Those are fun to kind of get out. And then this is a paperboard box I purchased and painted myself. And inside I've got some other cross stitch things and things that, you know, I can use to display. Now what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to tuck these kind of on the top to fill the box, but I might have to do some rearranging here. Let's see if this works out. It's the problem. It's like I put a lot of paper in, but maybe it's too much paper. Oh, I should already mention that I had a couple kid craft things. These are gonna go in the kids' like art files. I'm not gonna store them with the Valentine's Day decorations anymore. So let's see if this will close. And it does close, but just barely. I'm gonna rework this another time. I have a few things that I'm going to store in other places, like these apple Christmas ornaments, which I can put with my Christmas stuff. And then the Tiny Town, the Frosty Tiny Town that I just finished last month. This can go with my winter decorations. And then these things that are on the table are just simple swap outs. So I can pull Happy Winter out of the elastic frame and put this away. And then I can replace it with Happy Spring. And then these 3 winter themed crochet guys, these are patterns by Lali Lala on Etsy. These guys can get put away because I'm gonna get out my little spring guys. I've got a little bird. I've got a birdhouse and a crocus blossom. I had some of my vintage glass pieces that I used to create some interest in my display. These pieces I think I'll put back with my vintage glass collection, and then I'll get out some more like Eastery, St. Patrick's, springy sounding ones. And then the last thing I have is this. This is Festive Forest that I just finished a couple weeks ago. This is something that I kind of think of as a winter themed thing, but there's flowers on it. It's kind of spring-like too, right? So I'm gonna keep this out because it's new and I love it. Okay, let's start emptying out St. Patrick's Day themed decorations. First off, I've got these little guys. These were given to me by my friend Lynn last year. They're just kind of like silly little, you know, gnomes that I thought were pretty cute. I have a candy jar. This is actually a canister, Moon and Star canister by Ellie Smith. I have a couple cross stitch pieces. This is called Lucky by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. You can see it's got some metallic gold floss. This is actually one of my very favorite pieces. I like the font on the word Lucky and the gold. Luck and clover and green all over. Happy St. Patrick's Day with the little lamb. This one got a little dented, so I'll have to be more careful next year. I think I can fix it with a little steam iron. And then one of the little pen pals. I have this vintage lady. And I have a set of bowls. These are jadeite bowls by a company called Fire King. These are swirls. I have a 6-inch, a 7-inch, and an 8-inch bowl. They made a 5-inch bowl and a 9-inch bowl, and the 5-inch bowl is the hardest one to find. And so I'll be really lucky if I find that. And then I have this felt banner I made. This is by the Sugar House shop on Etsy. And each of these shamrocks is actually a little pocket. I could stick candy or something in here if I wanted to, but I'm gonna hang this on my brick wall. And then this last piece is another piece of Pyrex. This is actually International Pyrex. This is by a company called JAJ. It's got the little JAJ logo on the back. And this is a chip and dip. This is the chip. I don't have the dip. They would have a little metal bracket that would fix to the side of the bowl, and then a smaller bowl that's very similar. I think the smaller bowl is white with green clovers, would hook onto that for the dip. So lots of pretty green things to get on display. Here's some of the vintage pieces that I chose to add to my collection. First off, I have a bunch of these little Moon and Star toothpick holders in a lot of different colors. I have a little Pyrex carafe with clovers on it. And then these are Sue Bee honey whip bowls in a lot of different colors. So these were packaged at the grocery store. They would have honey whip in it and like a plastic lid that would go on top. And yeah, I just think they're really fun to collect. Oh, looks like my husband's home. The first thing I like to do is I like to put this display together. This is a platform that has a little cloche that goes over it like a glass dome. And so for St. Patrick's Day, I went ahead and I used the little gnomes that my friend Lynn gave me, and then I put one of them in the little clover carafe, and then the little Moon and Star toothpick holders are on the bottom. So now we just have to put the lid on to make sure everything fits. Carefully. Ah, his hat's a little bent, but that's okay. I like it. Okay. From this side, we have a mix of things I've made, things I've collected, all looking pretty cute. Hey, that was a nice segue because I was just about to start talking about my next New Year aspiration, which was building community. And so I kind of got to build a little bit of community with my husband by having a nice lunch together. But I wanted to show you something that I got yesterday, and I'm really excited about it. And it's a completion certificate. I participated in my city's Citizens Academy. This is an annual class that they do every year. It's something that you sign up for that's free, and then what they do is they draw names out of a hat, to be part of it. But for the last couple weeks, we got to learn all of the nitty-gritty details about our city, like how the water department works, the fire department, the police department, going to the library, learning about the resources there, learning about our recreational department. We actually have one makeup class to do, and that is for Department of Public Works, and that's because we had a big blizzard on the night we were supposed to go see the snowplows, and they had to take the snowplows out. So we're gonna do that next week. But this last week was our graduation. We had a lot of fun. We got to meet with our city council members and learn about what they do, and we got our little certificates. And then also they gave us a fleece. Isn't that cute? So I'm really glad that I got to participate. I got to meet a couple people that are in my neighborhood. I got to meet my city council person, and he's actually one of my neighbors, and I really have a lot of like newfound admiration for the work that they do. Our council members are bipartisan. They really do a good job asking what the citizens want and using that to kind of inform their decision, but then also using their own values to inform their decisions too, you know, because you can't just like vote on everything by popularity, right? Because that's how we would end up getting like Coca-Cola in the drinking fountains, right, at school. And so I really enjoyed it. It was nice to get out on Wednesday nights to do it. And if you have a community that does any kind of like citizens academies, I don't think this is unique to where I live. I think that there are other cities that do this. Check it out, because you get to learn a lot. And then now I get to be a nerd about my city and share that information with other people. So what else is happening with community? Well, I got my invoice for the upcoming retreat that I'm going to in May. This is the retreat hosted by Chantel's 141 Design Company, and it's about an hour away from where I live. And her special guest is Nicole Spohr, who I got to meet actually at a different retreat. So I'm really excited. So paying that invoice means now I am locked in. No refunds. I gotta go. So I have my hotel room booked. I've started coordinating with some of my friends, you know, who are gonna stay at the same hotel, you know, so I'll have some buddies to hang out with. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see my friends. And, you know, part of that, you know, kind of, and this is how it ties into the community building, is that I've joined a couple new Facebook groups this week. I joined a Facebook group for Chantel's 141 Design Company because I just don't know why I wasn't in that group. And that's been really nice. And actually it's been really helpful because, you know, that Bluebird's message that I showed you earlier in the video, Chantel was able to actually measure one of the cutting boards that she had to give me an idea. She actually did a photo with a piece of paper the same dimensions as my piece, so I know exactly what my piece is going to look like on the cutting board I purchased. So that was really kind of above the extra mile, right? And then the other Facebook group I joined was Nicole Spohr's Facebook group. She actually has two. She has one for paper crafting, and then she has one for sewing, quilting, and cross stitch. I joined the quilting and cross stitch one, and that's been a lot of fun. She does like themed days, like Work in Progress Wednesday, Finish Friday, and it's just fun to meet other people who are also into the hobby. So do you participate in any kind of online groups for cross stitch or other crafts? You know, if you have recommendations, hey, the bigger the community, the better, right? Drop them in the comments below. So, let's go ahead and change gears here. We've talked a lot about cross stitch today. And what I would like to do is I'd like to talk about my next crafty aspiration of the year. Let's see, how many have we talked about today? Christmas, 25 and 25, building community, stitch alone. So 4. Okay, so this is actually like the last one of like the 5 that I have. And that is to work on my fiber crafts and to concentrate on one knitting project and one crochet project at a time. And so let me show you what I have right here. First off, I'll start with the crochet because I actually was working on it this morning. You know, with the time change, Fridays are my easy morning because my son gets speech therapy at home. And so we don't go to school right away. And so I had time to sit and start some crochet and watch the sunrise. And the sun actually like started hitting my skin as it was like coming over the tree line, and I don't know, I felt really good. So I've missed the sunshine, but this is what I worked on. This is another square for my origami square blanket. So I stitched these squares. They're 2-color squares with a diagonal divide. This one is like almost done. Each of these squares has 6 rounds of double crochet stitching. Once you get those squares stitched, you stitch them together into strips. And here's my strip. Hey, you're catching me. I have not woven my yarn tails in, so it is a mess. But what I do is I will weave the ends. Let's see, is this the front or the back? Sorry, technical difficulty. There's so many yarn tails that I couldn't tell. So this is the front. So I always start a row and I will take care of the yarn tails on one side of the row so I know which way to add, because this is a repeating pattern of squares. So once you get 10 squares in a strip, and let's see, I've got 7 here plus 8, so I'll need 2 more. Then you can go ahead and attach them to the blanket body. And this is the blanket body. Let me lean back so I can show you. So you can see it's starting on one edge with these golden warm colors, and now we're getting into some pinks and some purples, and then we're going to end it with some earth tones like some browns. So there are 12 rows of 10 squares in this, so 120 squares. So this is 70 squares on this piece plus 7 on my strip plus the one I'm working on. So I'm working on my 78th out of 120 squares. So that's almost 2/3. I finished the strip and I'm 2/3 done with this blanket. This has really been a good pick up and work on project. Do you know what I do? I do this project when I'm like waiting for something to happen at home. A lot of times, you know, like my son, Nathan, I haven't mentioned it in a couple videos, but you know, if you're new here, my son Nathan is autistic and he's nonverbal and he requires a lot of care. That's extraordinary to, you know, like just his individual needs. And Nathan, you know, like if he takes a shower at nighttime, you know, just like he can do it, but you kind of want to like just kind of keep an ear out to make sure that he doesn't flood the bathroom. And so this is a good project for that. You know, I can hear him splish splashing away and I can enjoy my own thing. I work on this one. I'm getting ready for, you know, like waiting for the timer to end on an oven, like if I'm cooking. I've been doing a lot of home cooking lately. My husband has been going through a couple health issues and we're trying to eat more healthily, eat less takeout, and more, you know, like meals from scratch. And that's been a lot of fun. We've been eating a lot of Indian food, and he got a cookbook for Christmas from my sister, and yeah, that's been fun to try new things and learn new techniques. I made naan bread a couple weeks ago. I've actually made it 3 times now because it's so good. So that's not really healthy, but you know, you gotta have a little bit, right? So projects like this that are like little pieces that get added into bigger and bigger pieces until you have one big blanket are perfect for those little in-between moments that, you know, you have like when you're getting other stuff done. I actually probably treat my knitting project very similarly. The vast majority of the time I spend on my knitting project is when I'm in the car in between picking up my son from school and then going straight to the high school and picking up my daughter. So there's about like a 15-minute window there while we wait for my daughter to be dismissed and get her locker and do all that stuff after school. And so I do a lot of knitting in my car, and I've been working on the same project for a while. And it is a scarf, and the name of the pattern is Unicorn Stripes because it's made with a bunch of mini skeins of this Madeline Tosh sock yarn. Oh no, I've got a snarl in here. Here, this is what one of the mini skeins looks like. These are called unicorn tails, and so that's why the scarf is called Unicorn Stripes. And the scarf has gotten big enough that I can't even do this. I gotta hold it horizontally. So I started over here with these earth tones, and now it's getting fun. How many stripes do we have here? Let me just do a quick count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I'm on my 14th stripe. So this is a big, big project. There are actually 30 different colors of yarn. And so I'm not even halfway done. So I work on this in the car, like I mentioned, but I also set up dedicated like race the clock knitting times during the day. I try to do 20 minutes where I just set a timer on my watch, knit, avoid social media, avoid, you know, like being interrupted, going to clean or, you know, whatever, and just get as much knitting as I can. Each of these stripes is 16 rounds. There's 150 stitches per round. So, you know, in 20 minutes, I can do usually about 4 rows. So that's like 600 stitches. And every little bit of stitching you do, you know, helps you finish the project, get a little closer. So I've really enjoyed this. This was actually a restart. I started on the other end of the sweater or the scarf, and I made a mistake and wasn't stitching enough rounds. And so I restarted on the opposite side, and I've been working toward that kind of mistake spot. And then what I'll do is I'll just knit and unravel the old stuff, you know, to make it right. And I just, you know, I can't believe how big it's gotten. You know, when you're in the middle of knitting, it feels like just nothing's ever happening, but then you stretch it out and I made something. So I've gotten back into knitting after kind of a long hiatus. I was really like, you know, I probably, instead of having a Flosstube channel, if I had started 3 or 4 years ago, would have just had like a knitting channel. What do they call them? Do they call them knit tube? I don't know. Tube socks. I don't know. Yeah. So I was knitting like almost, that was like exclusively my hobby. And then I got more into cross stitch, and then the knitting kind of faded, and now I'm like 90% cross stitching all the time. I really love it. And so it's really nice to kind of work through some of my old projects that have been kind of lingering down in Craft Dungeon, and then also start a couple new things, things that I bought the yarn for a long time ago. In fact, I just got a new knitting book. My friend Marjorie of Marjorie Made here on Flosstube recommended it to me via Instagram, and so I was really grateful for the recommendation. The name of the book is, I know the author's name is Summer Lee, and I got a Kindle copy of the book, so let me see if I can get the title of the book. The Sock Project. Here is a picture, so I don't even have to put a picture on the screen. So I just like these socks. I like the stripey one. I like the one with the little dots on it, like polka dot. Whoops. Lots of fun to be had here. I've heard a couple different knitters talk about Summer Lee's patterns, and they really seem to like them. And so I think that my next knitting project after this will be a sock. And yeah, it'll be fun to go through my yarn. I have like an embarrassing amount of yarn in Craft Dungeon. And so I haven't bought new yarn in a very long time. I've got enough to keep me busy for a while, and that's good. It's a good place to be. So, but yeah, I probably should, you know, maybe do a little bit of a reorganization, maybe sometime this year. So that is fun to kind of just mix it up, you know, and have one knitting project and one crochet project done at all times, and to take advantage of those little in-between moments. You know, I have really struggled this year with just kind of getting used to my kids' new school schedule. So previously my son was in elementary school and my daughter was like in middle and high school, and we had like about an hour between dismissal times for them. So like the older kid would get out earlier than the, you know, younger kid, and that was nice. It was like a good time for like running errands, you know, kind of getting a little relaxing in before, you know, my little chaos ninja, you know, shows up from a day of school. And I miss that because this year I have to pick him up first, and I have to pick him up really early. Like I usually have to leave the house at 2 to pick him up at 2:15, and then to pick my daughter up at 2:25. Now, I've really been feeling the loss of that, like 45 minutes to an hour. I feel like I just like run out of time every day. And so even though we're like over halfway through the school year, I feel like I'm still going through like an adjustment process of just like, how do I manage my time? And one way I think that helps managing time is to be very intentional. Like I'm going to do cross stitch for 1 hour, ready, set, go. And then just do it. The other thing too is finding a balance between, you know, like things I have to do and things I want to do. And I would say on a given day, I'm very lucky because in those 6 hours where my kids are not in school, most days I can have like 5 of those 6 hours be like the stuff that I like have to do, and then I get a whole hour of just like fun for me, you know, and that's nice. A lot of times I'll talk on the phone with one of my good friends. She has kids around the same age, and we're both home at the same time, and that's fun because I can just put it on speakerphone and you know, work on my crafting, and it's almost like she's here with me, you know, kind of having a little visit. Other times what I have to do when I finally do sit down is I have to just kind of like ignore the half finished chore in the background, because guess what? You'll never ever be done doing chores. It's something that's just, it's perennial, right? You know, you dust the tablecloth, you know, you dust and then you do some dishes and then you go back and you need to dust the table again, you know? So that's just the nature of doing it. But I wouldn't trade it. I mean, I complain sometimes. Sometimes I feel like I'm isolated. I'm stuck at home. Sometimes I feel like my time is not my own, that you know, I'm responsible for taking care of, you know, my family, my kids, making stuff ready for my husband. You know, and I've been feeling that a lot lately because I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos that are like vintage videos of like the 1950s, and a lot of these 1950s reels, they come into two different categories. You know, category one is like an educational thing. You know, like, are you motivated? Are you ready to get married? You know, how do you know if you're in love? You know, like that kind of stuff. And then the other half are like long form advertisements for either new technologies, government programs, or like kitchens. And that's why I got into it, because I have a vintage kitchen collection. I like to collect vintage Pyrex and other things from the 50s and 60s. And so it's kind of fun to see those, like, oh, look at the modern kitchen of today. You know, like some gas company made a half-hour long movie of like a girl learning how to cook on a new stove and all the recipes she made. And then they provide the recipes in the video. I just really enjoy the heck out of that. I also enjoy learning, you know, just about like, you know, actually a lot of the marriage and the relationship stuff that they were teaching in the 50s is sweet. It's just kind of sweet, you know, to see like you have to have stuff in common with the other person. You have to be, you know, someone that, you know, will support you and that you can support them. You know, these are all things that are true today. But at the time, you know, with the 1950s kind of being like, this is a new medium, a new way to teach, you know, it's just, they're pleasant to watch. And so there's a channel called Old TV Time that has a lot of them. If you just do a YouTube search for like vintage newsreels, you're gonna find a lot of really interesting stuff, and it's been taking up a lot of my time. So speaking of vintage collecting and community building, I'm participating in a vintage Instagram event in June to coincide with Pride. And this is something that is hosted by my friend Sebastian of Nomadic Finds Vintage on Instagram. And it is hashtag VTG PRIDE, Vintage Pride. And so starting in June 1st through like 13th or 14th, we are going to do some posts and then share posts from other people. Each one celebrating a different color of the Progress Pride flag. So June 1st will be red. June 2nd will be orange. So we'll do red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. And then we'll do black and brown. And then we'll do pink, white, and turquoise, you know, to finish it up. And then like a rainbow day. I'm really honored to be asked. It's fun to showcase my collection. I've already started kind of like taking photographs, you know, so I'll have something nice to post. It's fun to get creative with mixing up some of my collection items, you know, or highlighting a special one. It's also fun to see other people's collections. I have really enjoyed collecting vintage, you know, items. It's a little bit of a treasure hunt. You know, you go to a thrift store, you learn a lot, you learn the history of the companies that are made. And it's just, it's a lot of fun to play with color. And, you know, if you were to walk through my house and look, it's like really become pretty rainbow dominant. I've got like little rainbows everywhere in my house, and I've always kind of been drawn to rainbows. It's really fun to be an adult lady in her 40s who gets to decorate her house however she wants, because I decorated it pretty rainbowy. So if you're interested, you can follow me on Instagram. I'll leave a list of the other people who are hosting, and then you can participate too. You know, everyone's got like a cool little colorful display they can make. It doesn't have to be 100% vintage. It could be one vintage thing. So let's talk about some other YouTubers that I've watched, and then we'll wrap things up. First off, I just watched Adelaide Stitches for the first time recently. Adelaide actually called me out on one of her videos, which drew my attention, and I've watched several of her videos. She and I have a lot in common. You know, I've got my Stitch Alone piece, and she's doing the same piece, and she has a really cool color conversion for hers. She seems to like a lot of bright colors. She's also working on that 324 piece too. And so it was really nice to meet her. It's kind of fun to me that even like, though she lives on the opposite side of the planet Earth from me, we can have some things in common, which I think is cool. Same for Catherine of Catherine Stitches. Now, if you want some inspiration, like maybe you're getting ready to tackle a full coverage piece, she is one to watch. She has some beautiful projects, and a lot of them are full coverage. And boy, I struggle just with the one full coverage piece I have. And so I just think it's amazing that she's got more than one, and they're all really beautiful. I have to mention the Thread Gremlins, Amy, Carolina, and Elizabeth, especially since they are celebrating their Floss-iversary. Happy Floss-iversary. They have been on YouTube for 1 year. And hey, guess what? I have almost been on YouTube for 1 year too, because I just went back and checked my channel, and looks like my first video was March 21st and it's March 14th. So I'm like 51 weeks into being a YouTuber. I can't believe it. I've had a lot of fun. So maybe for an anniversary video, I'll talk a little bit more about like what I've learned, you know, making a YouTube video, but I'll have to do a little thinking about it first. And then, you know, if you like other like kinds of, you know, things, I've been watching a comedian. His name is Josh Johnson. He is on The Daily Show, but he also does a lot of stand-up comedy, and he puts a lot of his stand-up shows on YouTube, and you can just watch them. And I just really like his sense of humor. He is a storyteller. So a lot of times he's like telling a story. He has a really funny video about the Olympics, like that Rachel Reagan, the breakdancer. It was really a funny story. You have to check that one out. I started watching him because around the Super Bowl, he did an explainer video about the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef. And I enjoyed it. It's about 25 minutes long. He did a shorter one for The Daily Show. He's one of those people, like when he's telling the story and he gets to the punchline, he pauses, and then you kind of fill it in, and then it's even funnier. And so he's really, really a good guy to watch while you're stitching, because you can just kind of listen to his voice and feel like you're part of the crowd. So tell me what you like to watch on YouTube. I really like a lot of different topics. I sometimes watch videos on historical costuming, on gardening, on homesteading, even though I'm like never ever gonna have my own homestead. A lot of cleaning and organizing. I'm never gonna be a scrapbooker, but I enjoy watching people organize scrapbook supplies, because it's just overwhelming how much stuff there is, so much paper. It's very enjoyable. And what else do I like to watch? Just everything, you know, like clips from movies sometimes. That's actually how I figure out whether or not I want to watch a whole movie or a television show lately, is like I'll see a couple clips on YouTube and I'll be like, yeah, I should give Dairy Girls a try. So, hey, I really enjoyed catching up with you today. I struggled getting this video out because I just ran out of time, but I did it. I did it, and it's Friday, and I made it. And so I hope that you have a lovely weekend, you know, filled with all of the fun things you want to do. If you are getting springtime weather, I hope you get a chance to enjoy it. If you have a big project that's challenging you, I hope that you have a breakthrough this weekend and you get a lot done and you feel productive and great. And it was just so nice to catch up with you. I love hearing your comments. I read every one. I try really hard to reply to everyone. They mean a lot to me. I'm also like really grateful. I'm only 50 subscribers away from 2,000 subscribers. And if you told me that 51 weeks ago that people would be watching my videos, I'd say no one wants to watch this lady talk about stitching. But you guys do. And so I appreciate it. So I hope you have all the wonderful things ahead of you, and we'll see you next time. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.